Hey, this is Donnie Smith. Welcome back to another DIY Auto Body and Paint Q&A. Today we're going to talk about getting a real dry look in your paint and what you do to correct that, if that happens to you. And we're also going to talk about how to prevent that from happening to you. Had a question on YouTube, and what they was asking is they've had this problem, but what to do as far as, do they need to sand it, clear coat it, or repaint, or wasn't sure what to do. So first, let's talk about what we're talking about: dry overspray. Now, this is usually the problems that you're going to have on large areas. It can happen anywhere, but it's going to be more prone to like hood panels and roof panels. Big, large areas that are flat, because that's usually where overspray comes and lands on top of it, and it's dry when it hits, causing a real gritty feeling. I mean, I've seen it as bad in base coat where it looks like someone got some sand and threw in it, that bumpy. But yeah, on top of panels, especially in the centers where you're reaching over and probably you're further away than you should be, and that spray's going on there real dry. That's where you're probably going to have that. And this can happen in your base coat, or it can happen in your primer sealer. I've seen it in both. Another thing is your air pressure is too high, and have that fog of overspray going all over, and it comes and lands on top. When it does, it's a dry particle, and it kind of makes that rough texture. Ways to eliminate that are to check your air pressure, see if you're shooting with too high of air pressure. Whenever you're shooting centers of hoods and roof panels, make sure you try to get proper distance. I know sometimes it's harder, but what I'll have to do, sometimes if you're really leaning over getting the center of a hood or something, you're going to have to slow your paint gun down a little bit because you're further away. Now, another problem is using the wrong reducer. So if it's a hot day like today and you're using a reducer that dries fast, obviously you're going to have that problem. You're going to have that dry overspray. So use the correct reducer. Don't use too much air pressure. Be sure and check your air pressure settings, and try not to shoot too far away. That's some of the causes of that dry spray. So anyway, if you're having that problem, what do you do? I mean, that's basically the question. So I've just painted something, and again, this could happen in the sealer. Now, if this happens in the sealer, get some 600 to 800 and sand it out a little bit in the areas that are dry. You don't necessarily have to sand everything. It's usually spots. But yeah, sand that out, and use a little bit of water just to lubricate it. Let it dry off good. Let it dry an hour or whatever, so it's not gumming up on your sandpaper. But you got to lightly sand it because it is going to be fresh, just enough to smooth that out. Now, if that dry overspray is sitting right on top, sometimes you can just get like a gray scuff pad and barely rub it, and it'll rub it all off. So it depends if it's embedded into the primer sealer or base coat, or if it's something that's just sitting on top. You might try a scuff pad first and see if it knocks right off. If it does, you can continue. If not, you're probably going to have to use a little bit of sandpaper to level it. But you see, if it's in your sealer, you can sand it out. You don't necessarily have to spray an additional sealer. Sand it gently. You can probably go ahead and put your base coat on top of that. But let's talk about if this happens in your base coat. Now, if it happens in your base coat, I generally recommend to go ahead and sand it out like we just talked about. Use 800 and lightly sand it. And you could use a scuff pad too to see if it's just sitting on top. And then I'll usually go ahead and put another coat of base coat. And the reason is, especially metallics, pearls, if you sand those just a little bit, you're going to disturb the pattern that metallic or that pearl is setting. It's going to look different there. You're going to see where you sanded. So especially, I mean, I would do it with any color, but especially with metallics, pearls, sand it a little bit till it's smooth. Then come in, fix the problem, either less air pressure, the right reducer, or get your distance right whenever you're spraying the centers of the hood or the areas that you're having problems at. Get those right, then put another coat that's nice and level and smooth and doesn't have that texture, that bumpy feeling, and then put your clear coat on. But that's just a quick tip, and I hope this helps answer the question that you had on this. If it's not, be sure to leave a comment down here. And I did send you a little bit of a message, but it's kind of hard to say all that, and try to, describe what I'm trying to say you know, the amount of words that they like to have. So, but anyway, I do thank you for asking that question. If you have any other questions, go down in the comments and you can ask me. And also be sure to like this video and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.